Good morning, and welcome. As many of you know, my name is Norman Williams. I'm the current Chief of Police here for the City of Wichita. This morning I'm going to cover three different things. First, we're going to talk a little bit about community safety as far as the police department's effort working with our citizens to make Wichita safe. We're also going to spend some time on what is the direction of the Wichita Police Department in 2013. What are going to be some of the areas that we're going to emphasize as an organization as we continue to strive to make Wichita a safe and secure community. And of course, after that, I will be glad to open it up for questions that you may have of me. And so this is your chance to ask those hard questions you've been wanting to ask me. But anyway, first of all, let me say, when I look at 2012 presented some tremendous opportunities for this organization as far as our mission, our values, and relationship building. When I say opportunities, we had an opportunity to begin working with the Wichita Retail Organized Crime Coalition, which is a group of businesses throughout the city to address thefts that were occurring within their businesses, whether it be shoplift or just people going in and walking out stealing other people's cell phones and things of that nature there. So that was a great opportunity that we seized from that standpoint. The other thing is the fact that the organization invested in a lot of equipment in 2012. So often we don't talk a lot about our equipment, and we probably need to do a better job of that. But when I look at the equipment that we invested in, last year we purchased 200 new mobile computer terminals, which are used in our police fleet, particularly the police officers, our crime scene investigators. They use these as far as getting information, whether it's dispatch calls, doing record checks. And so by investing in these MCTs, it allowed us to enhance our efficiency and also the response time that the officers get when they're running a tag number or determine whether or not somebody's is wanted on a different crime. The other thing that we also invested in, or actually it was a gift from the state of Kansas, the KBI, however we're paying the maintenance, is what we call the Rapid ID machine. And what this is it is a portable machine that allows us to be able to capture a person's fingerprint to identify who they are. Of course, when officers are called to a shoplift call, or even if they have another situation and they're trying to identify somebody, we know they play the name game. They will give everybody's name but their own name. And so by us securing 5 of these units, it allows the officers to be able to have a unit brought to their location, and there again, they use the left and the right index fingers that are inserted into this hole to be able to get a reading on who this person is. And so there again, those are some of the things. The other thing that we worked on in a collaborative effort with the Sedgwick County Sheriff's Office was placing a similar unit over at the booking desk. In other words, when officers bring a suspect in for a crime and they don't know who that person is because they don't have identification, there again, we can use this similar machine over at the booking desk. And that way, if we identify that person, we can issue a notice to appear in lieu of having to book that person into jail. And so there's some benefits from the standpoint of the taxpayers that we don't have to book somebody in the jail because we now know who they are. We have a valid name associated with that person. The other significant investment that we purchased last year was about 150 new tasers. The tasers that we purchased last year are replacing tasers that we purchased back in 2006. And of course, with technology changes. And so the tasers that we're investing in, which are called the X2s, are far more advanced than what we originally purchased back in 2006. And so there again, you're looking at the safety of the officers, being able to perform their duties, minimize injuries to themselves, and hopefully minimize injuries to suspect. And so there again, like I said, those are just some of the highlights as far as significant investments that we've made as far as the department and the city as a whole. And there again, getting the equipment we need to provide quality services. The other thing that occurred that was there again an opportunity was last year was the first time we began to employ the field crime analysts. And each one of the substations now has a field analyst that are able to identify trends that are occurring within their respective bureaus. They take that crime information, they analyze it, they meet with their captains to share, here's what we're seeing in our bureau, captain. And we're able to deploy resources in a more timely manner versus waiting 30 days or 45 days captains can deploy resources to bear on that crime trend within probably a couple of days, if not within a week or so. And so that has been a great asset for us as an organization throughout 2012. As we know, citizen involvement continues to be critical to the Wichita Police Department. There's no way that we can provide for a safe and secure community by ourselves. Wichita is 164 square miles. But what we can do, and what we've done, is build relationships with our citizens, whether it be neighborhood residents or the business community. It's allowed us to leverage our resources when it comes to eyes and ears in this community. And there again, when I look at the number of cases that we've been able to solve, it's because of a collaborative effort between the police department working with our citizens to get it done. Another significant opportunity is the initiation of reorganizing the Wichita Police Department. This is the first time since 1995 that we have reorganized structurally the Wichita Police Department. In 95, we implemented community policing citywide. We moved to the 4 substation concepts that we currently operate under today. Under the reorganization, it's going to allow us to accomplish 4 things. Number one, it's going to help us to continue to provide quality and efficient services to this community based on the resources we have. It's going to help us to balance that supervisor to employee ratio, because what we saw prior to the reorganization, there was an imbalance when it comes to supervisor ratio of employees that they were supervising, which created problems or challenges for us as an organization. It also allows us to enhance our philosophy of community policing. So often people say, well, is the police department moving away from community policing? No. Community policing is a philosophy of this organization, because without those partnerships, being proactive, preventing crimes, and problem solving, it's difficult for us to be successful in accomplishing that goal that's been mandated by the council, which is to provide for a safe and secure community. And so there again, the other part of that reorganization, it allowed us as an organization to develop a strategic approach to deal with the budget constraints that we have encountered since 2009. And so that again, that's why we looked at the reorganization. We feel that the reorganization is going to help us as an organization to transition into the future and to be able to provide those quality services that our citizens have become accustomed to over the last several years. And so there again, we're looking at that. When you look at the whole notion of crime, I mean, from the standpoint of total crime, both Part 1s and Part 2s, we did see about a 2% increase in our total crimes within the city of Wichita, Kansas. Last year we had 69,487 total crimes that impacted our community, compared to 68,002 that occurred in 2011. Ironically, when you look at that increase, which is about 1,400, I can tell you that that increase is being driven by larcenies, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about larcenies here shortly. But that's where you see the significant increase when it comes to the changes in the increase in the different crimes. And I do believe you should have a chart that says Part 1 offenses. And I call your attention to larcenies, where there again, that is a significant increase that we saw within the city of Wichita. And when I say larcenies, it goes back to shoplifts. You know, people going into businesses and walking out with citizens' purses. If you look at that chart, below that chart, there is a list of the top 10 items that are stolen by individuals out of businesses. And I look at those, I call those crimes of opportunity. In other words, I need to steal something that I can convert into cash in a short amount of time and not be apprehended. Crimes of opportunity. And that's what we're seeing from that standpoint. When you look at the number one, currency, money. Because there again, people are looking at if they have to supply a habit, whether it be alcoholism or whether it be drugs, what's the best way to get that money? You steal something and you convert it. Credit cards, those kind of things. There again, crimes of opportunity is what we're looking at from that category. As we look at the 2% increase in crime, we've also seen an increase in our clearance rates. You know, unfortunately, we live within a society that crimes are going to occur. No matter how we try to strive to be proactive, they're going to occur. The key there is how well are we doing to solve those crimes that occur within our community. And if you look at the chart that talks about clearance rates, particularly those 7 major categories that are tracked by the FBI, you will see that we continue to do far better than the averages from year to year. And I would venture to say, if you did your homework and contacted the FBI and looked at their statistics, you will see that the city of Wichita surpasses the FBI numbers for cities of similar size. And you probably say, okay, well, Chief, we got 100% clearance rates in homicides this year, but didn't we have 2 homicides that weren't cleared? You're correct. We solved 2 previous homicides, one that happened in 1996 involving Michael Osby, and we also solved a homicide that occurred in December of 2010. The victim in that case was James Holloman. Those 2 cases were solved in 2012. Because they were previous homicides, we can't go back and claim those as clearance. We have to claim the clearance in the year that we solved those cases. And so that's why you see that 100% clearance rate for 2012 as far as our homicide, is the fact that we did clear 2 homicides. As I mentioned, we have 2 unsolved ones. Mr. Robert Newman that occurred on West 9th, and then Mr. Samuel Springsteen that occurred on East Blakely, I do believe.
Harry.
Pardon me? Harry. So those are the 2 that we didn't solve. So the other information you have is our gang statistics. And we're trying to look at the last 5 years. Actually, we looked at 2007 through 2012 in regards to how do we fare as a community when it comes to gang violence or gang suppression within this community. And I think the numbers pretty much speak for themselves. When you look at our drive-by shootings, last year was the lowest number that we had as far as drive-by shootings. There were a total of 4 gang-related drive-by shootings in this community. If you go back and look at the 90s, we were average 200 to 225 drive-by shootings in a year. And so that's encouraging. We did see a slight bump in our aggravated assaults involving gang members, a difference of about 5 compared to the year before. Our gang-related homicides, we only had 7. That's the second lowest number that we've had in the last 5 years. There again, if you go back and look at previous years, gang homicides will be anywhere in the 20s to 30 total throughout the years. So we've been encouraged from that standpoint. We're cautiously optimistic that we have to continue to be vigilant as far as a community when it comes to gang suppression. It's not about the police department by themselves, but is a collective effort of everyone working together, whether it's the community faith-based, whether it's our businesses, our nonprofits. It takes everyone working together to allow us to be successful from the standpoint of continuing to reduce gang violence within this community. Because there's no community in America right now that is not susceptible to gang violence. There is not one. But what we've done as an organization and as a community is we work collectively. We've worked in a cooperative effort to get things accomplished, and that's been so important to us. The other thing is traffic collisions. Last year, when you look at our traffic fatalities, they were down compared to the year before. We had 24 traffic fatalities last year compared to 26 in 2011. Traffic enforcement continues to be a priority for this organization because it has a tremendous impact not only on people's lives, but it also has an impact on our community as a whole. When I look at the top 3 causes of officers being killed in the line of duty, traffic-related accidents is in that top 3 that we lose officers killed every year. And so it's incumbent and important upon us as an organization to continue to focus on traffic safety. And that's why we have a comprehensive traffic safety plan that has guided us over the last 3 or 4 years and will continue to guide us as we go forward. Because there again, we want to make sure that we reduce the number of accidents. Not so much we're out here trying to write tickets from the standpoint of quota. Our quota is to reduce traffic accidents. If we can reduce traffic accidents, then we've accomplished what we've set out to do as an organization. We take a lot of pride in talking about our neighborhood-oriented traffic enforcement plan, enforcement program. We encourage citizens to don't hesitate to call their nearest substation if they have speeding in their neighborhood, if they have people running stop signs, because that's what it's all about. The citizens are the eyes and ears. And so we really try to focus a lot of our attention, particularly in those neighborhoods, because guess what? Children are out playing. A ball rolls in the middle of the street. Child is not going to stop to look both ways. They're going to focus on that ball. And so it's incumbent upon us to make sure we're being very cognizant of our speeds and our driving behavior in those neighborhoods. And that's why we focus on that. As we look at 2013 is going to be very ambitious as far as this organization. We have began the Homeless Outreach Team program, better known as HOT. And you probably say, what is the significance of that program, Chief? There are several significance. Number one, we have dedicated officers that will work closely with community resources to connect homeless individuals with those resources to allow them to be self-sufficient and being able to survive in a home versus being on the street. The other thing is it helps us to make sure that citizens are being connected to community resources because so often they're not. The other thing is it helps us to be able to address the crime that is occurring within the homeless population, because I'm here to tell you that the crimes are occurring. The problem we have is citizens, the homeless victims are not reporting them because of that trust factor with law enforcement. And so by having a dedicated group of officers that are out there day in and day out connecting with the homeless population, it helps to build that trust, that respect, that they're going to report those crimes. And you probably say, well, Chief, it's going to drive up your crime rate. You know what? We want the victims to report the crime so we can make sure that we're holding those individuals accountable that are victimizing the individuals there that are homeless. And so that's one of the focuses that we try to do. The other thing is it helps us to reduce the crimes that may be occurring, thereby having the homeless to wind up in the jails there at Sedgwick County, because we know that eventually if they commit a crime and they have mental issues, they're going to wind up in the jails at some point in time. And so there again, that's what we're trying to do from that standpoint. Community outreach from the standpoint of mental health. Unfortunately, in light of the tragedy that happened in Newtown, Connecticut, there has been two driving debates that we've experienced. One is we need to ban all guns, and then secondly, we want to blame the incident on all the mentally ill, and that is not fair, because not everyone that is susceptible to mental illness is not a violent criminal. But there again, you look at those discussions, you're at one end of the spectrum or you're at the other end. And so our job is to make sure that we're able to provide our officers with the information, the resources that we can assess, evaluate, and de-escalate situations that involve the mentally ill. Currently, the Training Academy provides about 30 hours of training when it comes to individuals that have special needs. Our goal, beginning with the class that starts in June, is to increase that to over 40 hours. We want to provide our officers with more and more information to help them with that assessment, that evaluation, and that ability to de-escalate so we don't have to use unnecessary force in those situations. And so we're looking forward to that because there again, the more we can train, it helps us in the long run. We're going to continue to work with engaging our citizens. If you had an opportunity to go to our Facebook, I mean, we put a lot of information on our Facebook. We do a lot of tweeting every once in a while. They haven't quite got the chief up to tweeting yet, but they're working on that one. We'll see what happens. But there again, it's a way of communicating with our citizens because everybody's into technology. There's not a one of us in this room that doesn't have a smartphone that you can get everything up under the sun. And so we're looking at how do we continue to build those relationships? How do we continue to build on our relationship with the Wichita Independent Neighborhood Associations? You go back to the 1990s, one of the significant components of the Safe Neighborhood Initiative was increasing the number of neighborhood associations. Because guess what? We go back to what I said earlier. Citizens are the eyes and ears for us in law enforcement. And the more we can do to build those relationships, it's a win-win for everyone. And so that's what we try to focus on. Continuing to work with the businesses. There again, I go back to the Wichita Retail Organized Crime Coalition. They're going to be key. I know that the District Attorney's Office is really placing an emphasis on holding suspects accountable that are involved in property crimes, particularly burglaries. Because I can tell you, being the victim of a burglar back in about 1987, that is not a good feeling. I mean, it sticks with you in your subconscious. And so the more we can do to hold these criminals accountable, it helps us in the long run to make Wichita a safe and secure community. And of course, we're going to continue to focus on traffic safety. We have to. We cannot become complacent. We must be diligent because everyone in this room is susceptible to being involved in an accident. And so that's what we're going to be doing. We still have different aspects of the reorganization that we have to work towards. Like I said, we began in September the first phase. We're now moving into the next two phases. Ironically, I'm encouraged by the fact that we're moving a lot quicker than what I anticipated with the reorganization. Things are falling in place, but we still have some things that we need to get accomplished, and we'll get those accomplished. And of course, our clearance rates. We have to continue to hold suspects accountable. You do that by arresting them. You do that by having successful prosecutions, because no one wants to be taken away from their loved ones locked up for a period of time. And so there again, if we can get them incarcerated and get them the assistance that they need, hopefully they can come out and be a positive contributor to our society versus otherwise. And so there again, that's a lot of information in regards to where we are, what happened in 2012, where we're going in 2013. And so this is your chance to hit me up on questions.
Chief, talking about the larceny, maybe I know you said that a lot of it's shoplifting. Why do you think that's up so much?
Well, it's a combination of shoplifting plus people just walking into some of our business offices and stealing people's purse. I mean, because it says from billing, so it can be a full array of different things, not just a shoplifting at one of our retail stores. It could be at some of our fitness facilities where people will go in a person's locker, steal their iPhone, steal their purse, because guess what? If I get your driver's license, your credit cards, I can go out and create a false ID and run up thousands and thousands of dollars of bills under your credit. And so credit cards are real valuable in this today. So it's a full gamut of many things.
The fact that our jails and prisons are full, we don't put property offenders in prison or jail like we used to. Is that having an impact on our crime rate?
Well, it goes back to accountability. When I started in 1975, if a suspect committed a burglary crime, they did the time. But because of you're looking at budget constraints, changing philosophies, trying to keep as many people out of jail and give them a second chance, all of those factors go towards that decision: do we incarcerate them or not? There again, if you look at, there was an article a few weeks ago where DA Mark Bennett talked about an emphasis on burglaries. They've assigned the DA to work with our detectives to help us to be able to hold those serial burglars accountable for their actions. And so that is a great start for us, because that's important to us.
And talking about burglaries, I know the county has been doing a lot of burglaries out there, and they said, just Captain Pollock was saying that you guys have seen an increase in burglaries as well. Anything specific that you're doing to help stop that?
Well, there again, we're utilizing our crime analysts, working with what are we seeing as far as trends. I know the investigations, the field, the DA's office, we're all working collectively, because you do have burglary rings that are out here hitting us. And we've done several different investigations over the years where we have disbanded burglary rings that steal stuff. They post it on Craigslist, they post it in other venues to get rid of those items so they can get cash out of them. And so there again, that collective effort, special assignments, working with the DA's office, having a DA that we can go to, those things will help us going forward. Good questions.
Chief, on the subject of gangs, you talked about drive-bys that were 200 a year back in the 90s, and now we've got, looks like 80–90% fewer. Can you expand a little bit on the emphasis that the police department has had on gang activity?
Well, when you look at the organization, we have placed a tremendous amount of resources that are dedicated to gang suppression. I mean, you look at your SCAT teams, there's about 35 SCAT officers. You look at the felony gang unit, you're talking almost 8 detectives. You look at your SROs. So you start adding those numbers up, and that shows we have a tremendous commitment towards prevention, suppression, and intervention from that standpoint. And then the community is the other part of that. You're seeing more and more nonprofits that are really on the front end of helping us to do the right thing. And so the results are not about the Wichita Police Department, but rather it's about a collective effort between the department and the community at large that we've seen this reduction. We're, like I said, we're cautiously encouraged. We still got work to do, because it only takes one event where you can have rival gangs shooting at one another every day, 24 hours a day. And so we have to be very, very cognizant and focused on our efforts to deal with gangs.
Good question.
The number of gang members, is that down?
I think it's pretty much about the same. We're about the 3,000 what we've documented in our system.